Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI. The Bayelsa State governorship election may have come and gone, but the talking point, of course, is still on. And this time I'm talking about what actually happened on the eve of the governorship election. Now, disputes over party primaries is one thing that has been frequent in the ruling All Progressives Congress. You'd recall what happened in the elections held earlier in the year, especially in Zamfara and Imo State, which cost the party both states. Now, a bit of that history also replayed itself in the build-up to the Bayelsa governorship election, where just a few days to the polls, the court ruled that APC cannot take part in the election. We also saw that in Rivers State, as a matter of fact. Now, in the case of Bayelsa, the Federal High Court sitting in the state capital, Yenagoa, ruled in response to a case filed by one of the APC's governorship aspirants, Heineken Lokpobiri, who had insisted that he won the primaries and not David Lyon, the party's flag bearer. Now, ruling on the matter, Justice Jane Inyang said the APC had no candidate on the grounds, that its governorship primaries was not done in compliance with the guidelines, of course, and constitution of the party. Now, before that pronouncement, Lyon's running mate had also been disqualified on the grounds that he provided conflicting information on the documents he presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. However, a day to the election, the APC managed to secure a stay of execution on the initial court order. Counsel to Lokpobiri, who filed the case, had also actually appealed the ruling, saying the judgment delivered was not part of their prayer when they approached the Federal High Court. Now, all these court rulings as to the elections, of course, it's now becoming the norm in our electoral process. And to be candid, it's not something that should be allowed to continue. It's not something that should, continue to define our election, so to speak. And now being joined on the program to discuss more about this by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Robert Clarke. Chief, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, by the time people would be watching this program, of course, the Bayelsa State governorship election would have happened. It would have come and gone. Probably would be waiting for the results. But you look at the drama just on the eve of the election, all this legal drama. How do you explain it?
Well, Nigeria is a species that one wonders every day whether we learn our lessons or not. 2 days before an election, an intra-party matter has now resulted in such a draconic order being made by a high court. However, one has to look at it from one angle. Looking at it from the party's angle, why should a political party that believes it wants to lead people be canvassing problems within themselves 2 days before an election? It shows indiscipline within the party. Such things don't augur well for the development of political standards in Nigeria. Despite and in spite of that, one looks again at the way and manner the courts are intruding into the political arena without regard to the feelings of the common man. You see, when politicians are quarreling, it is the common man that suffers. The action of the court in stating that the party has no candidate means nothing to the politicians. They have collected money to dance around, canvassing for votes. 3/4 of the money given them to go and use it in canvassing goes into their pockets. But it is the common man who is being disenfranchised, who hasn't the opportunity. And this is what such judgments are going to give.
And the question is, why doesn't the court take cognizance of that? Because it appears what happened in Rivers State actually set a precedent. I mean, in Rivers State, of course, the court eventually ruled that the APC could not field a candidate, and it was going to happen in Bayelsa. And we also saw that in Zamfara as well.
You see, the trend in Nigeria now has to be curbed. Legislation must come for that pre-election matters must be dealt with before the election is held. But because our law today as it is allows for unfinished pre-election matters are allowed to go for another year or two into the Supreme Court. That allows all these things. But if a law now says, look, if you have any pre-election matter, intra-party matter, it must end 12 days before an election is held, then we won't have all these problems. But you see, the politicians won't do it. They all gain a lot from it. And that allows for indiscipline within the party. And that's what is happening.
Because, I mean, you look at it, one tends to get the impression that this is more or less like a legal ambush. I mean, you wait until the eve of the election and probably go to court to ensure that the other party doesn't field a candidate. This, of course, is not too good for our democracy.
It's a form of ambush. It's a form of ambush. And it's a pity that the courts are being used for this process. And the more reason why the courts now should stand up and say you cannot use it as a pawn. Because why should a litigant wait for an event that has occurred over 3 months ago in the primaries, now rush to court at the latter stage of the election? It's a mischief that must be curbed. And the courts should know that they too, their reputation is suffering. Because let me tell you straightforward, I was not happy listening to Timi Priscilla on television castigating a judge, but you can see that he has a good reason. He says this lady has a track record. When judges are being criticized on air in such a manner, then we have to think twice in this country. We have to think twice.
What would you suggest? What do you think needs to be done? Is it an amendment of the Constitution or some kind of amendment somewhere? I wouldn't know. Maybe prescribing the time limit now within which pre-election cases can be brought to the court. Because the whole idea of the courts coming in on the eve of an election, it's just not true cricket.
You said the ball is in the hands of the National Assembly. When we had the Amechi's judgment, where somebody who did not participate at an election was being awarded the governorship without passing through an election, and when we see what is happening in Zamfara, where people are being disenfranchised because of the wrongdoings of the party, one has to now make sure that we lobby the National Assembly to pass an amendment to the electoral law that litigations relating to pre-election matters must be finished before the election is held. The situation where the courts are allowed to assume jurisdiction until after the election and to make retrospective their judgments does not augur well for social justice.
And let's still take this case of Bielsa. I mean, I just want your take on this. We had, for instance, the litigant in this case. I'm talking about Senator Heineken Lokwobere, who actually approached the courts. He said the court actually gave him what he didn't ask for, that what he went to the court was to pronounce him the candidate of the party. He did not ask the court to say that the APC was not going to field the candidate. So the court left what he had asked for and was making pronouncement on what he did not ask for.
That makes me laugh. If a candidate of a party goes to court and says, oh, my opponent is not the lawful candidate, I am the lawful candidate, please proclaim me as the candidate, he's seeking for trouble. Because courts have inherent powers to make consequential orders. So if the court says, you want me to pronounce you as the candidate against you, it means the other candidate is not qualified. You yourself, you are not qualified. So the party has no candidate. So it's an afterthought for him to now put it that he never went for cancellation of the party's decision. The effect of what he asked for is what has been given.
It's really funny, but something really has to be done. But let's switch. Let's change gear now, Chief, and I want to get your thoughts now on this raging controversy over the proposed hate speech bill that is before the National Assembly.
You see the phenomenon now all over the world, including the civilized world, China, America, there is this problem of hate speech. The Americans are trying to curb it, but the people say it offends against, if you try to curb it, it offends against the First Amendment. First Amendment, which means freedom of speech. In Europe today, Facebook, Apple, and all also have similar problems. The Congress of America has just set up a committee to look into this thing. Hate speech is a worldwide phenomenon, and Nigeria has to tackle it. But the way and manner we want to tackle it in Nigeria is what is creating the problem. People believe, because of the dichotomy in politics here, because of the tribal insinuations in politics, because of the hatred, it might be used by the government to fight against known enemies in the opposition party. And you can't blame them. African governments, not only Nigeria, have been so repressive against opposition that the opposition will never trust. I am not for PDP, I'm not for APC. If PDP were in power today, they will do the same thing. If APC is not in power, they will do the same thing against them. My suggestion is that the matter of an amendment should not be left entirely to the National Assembly. I believe government should set up a small retreat for different shades of opinions in the media and the publishing this thing and all ITs come together to find a solution. We can't work outside international concepts. If we work outside international concepts, we will be castigated. So we have to be very careful. What I'm therefore suggesting is for the government first, tell the National Assembly to stop any amendment they intend doing, seek more information before they do anything.
Because you look at part of the proposal is that there's going to be a commission that will be set up, hate speech commission, so to speak, and that commission would have a governing board. And, of course, you'd have a chairman, and then you have members of the board. That, of course, will be adding to cost of governance.
Not only will it be adding to the cost of governance, the prejudices of those individuals who are going to go that board will come into play. You know, any government agency, it is not people they don't know they put there. They put people they know there who can always dance to their tune. So it's not going to solve the receptive attitude of Nigerians to it. Once it is a commission nominated by Mr. President or minister, the opposition will not accept it. They feel ab initio that it is going to be prejudicial. As I said, let the people know first, by way of a retreat, what is involved in it. And let us see public opinion first, before they even embark. We have always claimed that Nigeria has been spending too much money on the system of governance. This is one more addition to the expenses.
But Chief, if you were to make a suggestion on how to tackle this issue of hate speech, what would that be?
Look, I am not a seer, but hate speech is not isolated to Nigeria. Why not let us look around what other countries are doing and see whether, before we rashly pass our own law, because if we pass our law the way and manner we intend to do it, it might confront with international standards. And then we see the international organizations pounding on us and asking us to, retract our law. So I believe if I were in governance, I would allow some few learned people in that area of law to do a tour of this civilized country. Fortunately, when the Congress in America is sitting down, why not send 2 or 3 Nigerians sitting in the gallery to listen to what is being suggested? When France and Germany are holding their own, why not send 2 or 3 people to see what is going on? And then we borrow from them, because IT is an international instrument. Hate speech is an international attitude. So we can't isolate ourselves from the other world.
All right, Chief Robert Clarke, thank you for your time as always.
God bless you for me. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion on hate speech. Stay with us. On DEJI 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent.
Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dullards that call themselves governors in this country.
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that ballot.
DEJI 360, providing clarity to issues.